Sony finds itself at the centre of a storm following a hacking attack on Sony Pictures, its studio. This has led ultimately to Sony Pictures having to withdraw the film The Interview, which was seen as an attack on North Korea. I'm joined by John Gapper to talk about this. John, how serious was the original hacking attack?
Well, it was very serious. We had a very strange situation when this first blew up, of a really quite sophisticated, sustained assault using techniques that have been seen more in state-sponsored attacks, but on a rather, what seemed to be a rather trivial subject, to release a lot of emails about what a producer thought about Angelina Jolie. So it was easy at the start to think of this as a rather trivial, funny affair.
Yeah, more of an embarrassment for Sony than anything.
Precisely,
yeah.
And something which is a bit of a laugh for everybody. But actually, as time has gone on, the seriousness of what's happened here has become evident.
Yeah, it seems to have transformed what was going to be a rather unimportant film into an important film for different reasons. Could that have been anticipated, do you think?
Yes, I mean, one of the ironies of this affair is it's not a very good film, but at least a few people who have seen it say. And it's a comedy. It was never meant to be that serious, but North Korea has a rather small sense of humour, and it appears at least that Kim Jong-un and the regime completely lost their temper about it from very early on and decided it had to be shut down.
I suppose what I'm wondering about is whether Sony or Sony Pictures should have spotted this coming. Obviously the cyber attack, my sense is that they needed to have been better protected, although it was a pretty heavy duty attack. But could they have anticipated the reputational risk that they were running by removing the film from circulation or not releasing it?
Well, I mean, I think there's been two things here. One has been the embarrassment of having their internal emails and documents released. My view is that that's a relatively short-term thing. None of these leaks have been found to, there's been no wrongdoing or illegality within Sony found here. I think it was a bit of a one-day wonder and it would have died down. I think actually withdrawing the film, in other words, giving in to the pressure from the hackers and whoever is behind them, I think that's actually a rather more serious decision which could last, the effects of which could last quite a long time, not only for Sony's own reputation, but actually on other companies that might be faced with similar attacks themselves.
But should they have taken that into account? I mean, it seems to me they took a quite logical management decision, a not very important film, not going to cost them a great deal of money to withdraw it, therefore we'll take the path of least resistance. Do you feel that there was some wider issue that they should have considered before they made that decision?
Well, clearly, I think there should have been. I think from within Sony, you would think, well, look, here we've got this film. We don't really, it's not much of a film anyway. Are we going to go to the barricades for a romantic comedy, which, sorry, not romantic comedy, from a comedy which isn't very good? But I think that actually they should have thought much more about the principle of censorship and standing their ground and not being knocked around by anybody who wants to come and tell them what sort of films they can make and release.
I mean, it's occurred to me that this does raise the question about whether actually Sony Pictures looks a logical part of Sony. Sony Japan has not, as far as I'm aware, made any statement at all so far. The film wasn't going to be released in Japan. It's become a big issue for Sony, the company, but it's been essentially handled out of Hollywood. I mean, I wonder a little bit whether that makes the illogicality of the structure of the company rather obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a very long time, Sony's US entertainment assets have sat rather oddly with their basically Japanese-based engineering and consumer electronics business. Actually, and this may point up that contradiction at the heart of Sony. I mean, actually, one of Sony's difficulties now is that the entertainment business has actually been making pretty good money, and a lot of the core businesses that run out of Japan, the making of consumer devices, have been really very troubled. So it would be an odd time to break the company up.
Right. Well, it's going to have wider implications. John, thanks very much.